this. 10 out of 10. Amazing job. Wow, speechless. I was hooked from the very start, like just having like the eye peer through, like immediately you're grabbed. The underwater scenes paired with the music was so fun and playful and beautiful to watch. I really enjoyed like the first person POV, and also that how the perspective of that first person POV didn't actually change until the subject of that first person died, like was no longer, and then that kind of switched it. I thought that was really, really creative. And then there became such a stark contrast between the calmness and quiet below the water versus like the absolute chaos that's happening above. And this little boy at the epicenter of it all, just like trying to make it out alive. It was so jarring, but like beautiful. I don't know. I mean, it was gripping from beginning to end, and kudos to the filmmakers. It was
really intriguing and really interesting and suspenseful throughout every minute. At the beginning, I was wondering if it might be like a horror movie, or there might be like a supernatural monster lurking, or it might be a story of jealousy. And it was very unexpected when it turned out that the perspective at the beginning was a little boy, which shifted when the tragedy struck. And then I found myself really invested with the character and kind of like, waiting to see if he'd escape or not. And just the way that it played out was really, really suspenseful and really interesting. And I also found myself wondering about the backstory.
It was quite disturbing. It was totally shocking. You start with a very nice, romantic, lovely scene of young love or appreciation, and then it turns horribly dark into this very deranged character. I really like the inspiration that I felt through the little boy. It was totally sad and also uplifting somehow. And my favorite scenes were when they reflect the scenes with the water and in the pool, and also with the mobile phone. I really enjoyed those touches. It was great. Totally disturbing, but I really loved it.
This one was something else. I didn't know what I was getting into, and I certainly thought I was watching one kind of film, until the inciting incident, and then you realize what you're watching. You're like, whoa. It was all just done really well. You get torn back and forth. You feel like, okay, this is just, it's this child losing his innocence like this. It's terrible. It's tragic. But there's just so many great little moments in this. Absolutely just, it's shot beautifully too. There's so many things worth checking out about this one. So definitely have a look.
Starting the film through the lens of a peephole was resourceful, and I was keen on all the underwater scenes, even though they were kind of creepy in nature. The writers did a great job setting the stage through the perspective of the kiddo, while still foreshadowing a pending tragedy. I kind of got the sense that something was coming up. I thought it was just going to be rejection, but I noticed that the boys' breaths were attuned to each situation. So first he's out of breath because he's peeping, then he's out of breath because he's swimming, and then he's out of breath because he's frightened. Overall, Aquarium was well planned, well performed crime film, which really isolated the perspective of a child and his loss of innocence.
I thought this had a very original and unexpected take on a shooter video, I guess you would call it. There have been short films with that content, but I've never seen it taken in this direction before. Right from that brilliant peephole shot at the beginning, you think maybe we're going into some coming-of-age story, or maybe an old thriller, like a Hitchcock kind of thriller. especially with that playful jolt into the underwater scene, which threw me for a loop, and it was beautiful and it felt fun, and you're just at the pool with your friend and there's some sexual tension underlying there. And as soon as it switched, it was an utter shock, which I think is what film should do to us. It should shock us and bring us into that moment. And that ending, there was so much to mull over. I've been thinking a lot of how the shooter almost needed that boy at the end. He needed that validation that he's not a monster and he is going to be okay. And I've a very unlikely little hero who hardly says a word. But overall, it was very stylishly done, but there was still a lot of emotional undertones to it that give you something to think
That
of.
was a huge twist. I didn't expect for that to happen, honestly. But it was an interesting twist.
Wow. This one was incredible. I think this one might be my favorite. It was so strong. I mean, the sequence alone, just like in the opening with like the POV from the young boys, I feel like overall the entire piece did a great job at playing with POV, but having it be from his perspective, that like shot of the woman being shot in front of him was so startling and jarring, and it drops you exactly into the like mindset of this. It's truly horrifying and, you know, so sadly realistic. And I thought this was so well done, and it was shot really well. The editing, like, you could just feel the tension. Like, you just have to, you're glued to the screen.